Have you ever stopped to think about what really moves the modern world? It is not oil, it is not gold. It is something you never see, but use every day, dozens of times a day, without realizing it. Industrial magnets. They are in your phone, in your car, in the elevator you took today, in your computer fan, in the wind turbine that generates your power, in the MRI machine that saved the life of someone you know. And the global market for these small, invisible components moves values that reach trillions of dollars when you add all dependent industries. Alone, the permanent magnet market is worth tens of billions of dollars per year, growing at double-digit rates. But when you add the sectors that depend completely on them, electric cars, renewable energy, electronics, medicine, defense, the number explodes to trillions. And most people have no idea. In the next 20 minutes, I am going to show you exactly how much money is involved, who controls this market, how wealth flows, and why you should pay attention to this now. Why do industrial magnets exist as a global economic market? Because every technological revolution of the last 50 years depends on them. Electric motors, generators, hard drives, speakers, sensors, actuators. Without magnets, the modern economy literally stops. Every time you turn on an electronic device, drive a modern car, use a smartphone, or turn on a light generated by wind power, you are using magnetically dependent technology. And that created a gigantic market. More than 100 countries consume industrial magnets. Approximately 20 countries produce at commercial scale. But one country dominates completely. China controls more than 80% of global production of rare earth magnets, the most powerful and valuable. This created an unprecedented chain of economic dependence. Electric car manufacturers in Europe, technology companies in the United States, wind turbine producers worldwide all depend on that supply. And that dependence is worth colossal fortunes. Millions of people earn their living directly or indirectly in this sector. Engineers, chemists, miners, transporters, distributors, equipment manufacturers. Understanding this market is understanding how global economic power is truly distributed. Because whoever controls magnets controls the technologies of the future. Let us get to the real numbers. The global permanent magnet market alone is valued at approximately $40 billion annually, according to consolidated data from multiple market research sources. But that is just the beginning. When you include dependent markets, the numbers skyrocket. The electric vehicle market, which uses on average 1 kilogram of neodymium magnets per car, is worth more than $500 billion. The wind energy market, where a single turbine can contain more than half a ton of permanent magnets, moves more than $150 billion per year. Consumer electronics, smartphones, laptops, headphones, all with multiple tiny magnets, is a market of more than $1 trillion. Medical equipment with magnetic resonance technology, another multi-billion-dollar market. Defense and aerospace systems, also highly dependent. When you add everything up, you easily reach more than $2 trillion in economic value directly linked to industrial magnets. And that number grows between 8 and 12% per year, depending on the segment. To put it in perspective, the entire GDP of countries like Italy or Canada revolves around $2 trillion. That is, the economic value dependent on industrial magnets equals the complete economy of a large developed nation. China, absolute leader, exports tens of billions of dollars in magnets and related raw materials every year. Japan, second largest producer, invoices billions. Europe and the United States desperately try to reduce dependence, investing billions in new mines and factories. This is a market that literally defines the future of the global economy. Who really dominates this trillion-dollar market? Let us identify the giants. First, China is not just a country, it is practically a monopoly. Chinese companies like China Rare Earth Holdings, Inner Mongolia Baotou Steel Rare Earth, and Ningbo Yunsheng control most of the global production of neodymium iron boron magnets, the most powerful and valuable. Baotou Steel alone processes a huge portion of global rare earths, invoicing billions of dollars annually. In Japan, tech giants dominate high-value niches. Hitachi Metals, a division specialized in advanced materials, invoices billions with high-performance magnets for automotive and electronics industries. Shin-Etsu Chemical, one of the world's largest chemical companies with annual revenue exceeding $15 billion, has a highly profitable rare earth magnet division. TDK Corporation, with annual revenue above $15 billion, produces magnets for electronics and automotive. In Europe, smaller but strategic companies try to compete. Vakuumschmelze, German, specialized in high-performance magnets, serves aerospace and medical sectors. In the United States, MP Materials operates the only significant rare earth mine in the country, Mountain Pass in California, trying to reduce Chinese dependence. The company was valued at billions after going public. But the reality is clear. The economic hierarchy is dominated by Asians, especially Chinese, who control not only production but the entire refining chain. That gives pricing power, supply control, and gigantic geopolitical influence. Western companies pay the price, literally, in reduced margins and elevated costs. How does money really flow in this trillion-dollar market? Let us follow the value chain from start to finish. Everything begins in rare earth mines. Metals like neodymium, praseodymium, dysprosium, and terbium are extracted from ores. 1 ton of ore can be worth from $1,000 to $5,000, depending on concentration. Mines in China, Australia, United States, and Myanmar invoice billions annually. Second step, refining. Transforming raw ore into purified rare earth oxides is complex and expensive. China completely dominates this stage, processing more than 90% of global rare earths. This refining adds enormous value. 1 ton of neodymium oxide can be worth $50,000 to $100,000, depending on purity. Third step, metal alloy manufacturing. Oxides are melted with iron and boron to create the neodymium iron-boron alloy. This process adds even more value. Fourth step, manufacturing final magnets. Alloys are molded, sintered, magnetized, and coated. 1 kilogram of ready neodymium magnets can be worth from $100 to $300 in the industrial market. Fifth step, integration into final products. Electric motor manufacturers, turbines, electronics, buy these magnets and install them. An electric motor for a car can cost $1,000 to $3,000, with 10 to 20% of that value just in magnets. Sixth step, sale to final consumer. An electric car sold for $50,000 contains perhaps $1,000 in magnets. But without those magnets, the car does not work. Each stage multiplies value. $1 of ore becomes $50 of oxide, then $200 of magnets, then $1,000 of components, then $50,000 of final product. The economic multiplier is colossal. And at each stage, someone profits immensely. How many people depend economically on this market? Millions. Let us start with direct jobs. In China alone, it is estimated that more than 200,000 people work directly in mining, refining, and manufacturing of rare earth magnets. Salaries vary enormously. Mine workers can earn between $500 and $1,000 monthly, while chemical engineers specialized in refining earn $3,000 to $6,000. In Japan, tens of thousands work in advanced magnet manufacturing, with average salaries exceeding $4,000 monthly. In Europe and the United States, thousands of engineers, researchers, and technicians work in development and application, with salaries frequently above $6,000 monthly. But indirect jobs are where the impact explodes. Electric motor manufacturers employ millions globally. The automotive industry, increasingly dependent on electric motors with permanent magnets, employs tens of millions of people worldwide. Wind energy, explosively growing sector, employs more than 1 million people just in turbine manufacturing and installation. Consumer electronics, massively dependent sector on tiny magnets in speakers, sensors, and motors, employs tens of millions. In total, it is reasonable to estimate that between 5 and 10 million jobs are directly connected to industrial magnets, and perhaps 50 million indirectly. In terms of total salaries, this represents hundreds of billions of dollars paid annually. In countries like China and Japan, this sector is critical to local economy in specific regions. Entire cities in Jiangxi province in China depend on rare earth mining. Industrial regions in Japan depend on high-tech manufacturing. Local economic impact is transformative. Schools, hospitals, commerce, everything financed by this industry. How did this market get to where it is? The story is fascinating. 50 years ago, magnets were mainly cheap ferrites and alnico, ancient alloys. The market was small, perhaps a few billion dollars globally. Then came the revolution. In the 80s, scientists discovered neodymium iron boron alloys, creating the most powerful permanent magnets ever made. That changed everything. Japan led initially, with companies like Sumitomo Special Metals developing commercial technology. But in the 90s and 2000s, China entered aggressively. It invested billions in mines, refining, and manufacturing. It used cost advantages and resource access to dominate. In 20 years, it went from almost zero to more than 80% of the global market. Market value exploded, from a few billion in the 90s to tens of billions today. Average growth rate of 8 to 15% per year over the last 2 decades, depending on segment. What drove it? First, consumer electronics. Smartphones, laptops, tablets all need multiple small but powerful magnets. Second, hybrid and electric cars. Toyota launched the Prius in 1997, creating massive demand for efficient electric motors. Tesla and others accelerated in the 2010s. Third, renewable energy. Modern wind turbines use tons of permanent magnets for more efficient generators. The wind market grew from almost nothing to 150 billion annually. And the future? Projections indicate continuous growth of 8 to 12% annually for the next decades. Electric cars should dominate automotive market by mid-century. Renewable energy will continue expanding. New applications constantly emerge: drones, robotics, energy storage, magnetic transport. Some analysts project that the permanent magnet market alone can reach $100 billion by 2040. And dependent sectors? Easily $5 trillion or more. This is a market in structural and very long-term ascent. What is changing in the magnet market? Innovation is accelerating dramatically, driven by economic and geopolitical pressures. First, research into alternative materials. Dependence on rare earths, concentrated in China, creates risk. Scientists seek magnets without rare earths or with lower content. Companies like Tesla have already reduced rare earth use in some motors, using alternative designs. Investment in magnetic materials research globally exceeds billions of dollars annually. Second, recycling. Currently, less than 5% of rare earth magnets are recycled, an enormous waste. New recycling technologies can recover neodymium and dysprosium from old motors, discarded hard drives, deactivated wind turbines. Magnet recycling market can be worth billions in coming decades. Third, automation and artificial intelligence in manufacturing. Producing high-quality magnets is difficult, requires precise control of temperature, pressure, chemical composition. Artificial intelligence is optimizing processes, reducing waste, increasing quality. This improves margins and competitiveness. Fourth, new disruptive applications. Magnetic levitation for high-speed transport, like maglev trains, uses enormous quantities of magnets. Energy storage with magnetic flywheels. Experimental space propulsion. Each new application opens billions in opportunities. Fifth, geographic decentralization. Western countries invest billions to reduce Chinese dependence. United States invests in domestic mines and refining. Europe launches mining projects in Greenland and Scandinavia. Australia expands production. This total investment exceeds tens of billions of dollars. If successful, it can redistribute economic power globally. Innovation is transforming the market, creating winners and losers, opening fortunes for whoever arrives first with solutions. Companies that master efficient recycling, alternative materials, or sources outside China can be worth billions quickly. But not everything is guaranteed growth. This trillion-dollar market faces serious risks that can destroy billions in value. First, geographic concentration. More than 80% of production in a single country creates extreme vulnerability. Any political instability, export restrictions, tariffs, or trade conflict can spike prices and interrupt supply. This already happened. In 2010, China temporarily restricted exports after territorial dispute with Japan. Rare earth prices quadrupled in months. Global industries panicked. Billions were lost. Second, environmental impact and regulation. Rare earth mining and refining are highly polluting. They generate toxic waste, heavy metals, radioactive elements. China tolerated this to dominate market, but environmental pressure is growing internationally. Stricter regulations can dramatically increase costs. Mining projects in Europe and United States face local and environmentalist opposition, delaying billions in investments. Third, technological substitution. If scientists develop powerful magnets without rare earths, or efficient electric motors without permanent magnets, billions in current investments become obsolete. Companies dependent on current technology can lose value quickly. Tesla and others already explore induction and switched reluctance motors, which do not need permanent magnets. If this technology proves economically viable at large scale, the rare earth magnet market can shrink billions. Fourth, market saturation. Current growth is driven by transportation, electrification, and renewable energy, but eventually, market can saturate. When all cars are electric, when wind energy reaches geographic limits, growth decelerates. This can reduce returns and devalue companies. Fifth, financial risk and speculation. Rare earth prices are volatile, fluctuating 50% or more in short periods. This creates uncertainty, hinders planning, and can cause speculative bubbles followed by crashes that destroy billions in market value. Investors need to understand these risks to navigate this complex market. So how can you participate economically in this trillion-dollar market? There are several entry doors for investors. First, shares of producer companies. Companies like MP Materials in the United States, Lynas Rare Earths in Australia, China. Rare Earth Holdings, all publicly traded, offer direct exposure. MP Materials, for example, was valued at more than $5 billion at recent peak. Stocks can be volatile, but offer significant return potential if demand continues growing. Second, final magnet manufacturers. Japanese companies like Shin-Etsu Chemical and TDK are stable giants with dividends and consistent growth. Investing in these companies offers exposure to magnet market without extreme volatility of pure miners. Third, dependent technology companies. Tesla, wind turbine manufacturers like Vestas and Siemens Gamesa all critically depend on magnets. Their success is the success of the magnet market. Investing in these companies offers indirect exposure, but with diversification. Fourth, funds specialized in rare earth metals and clean technology. ETFs focused on renewable energy, electrification, or advanced materials frequently include exposure to magnet companies. Returns can be solid long-term. Fifth, commodities market. Sophisticated investors can trade rare earth oxide futures contracts, although market is small and risky. Sixth, recycling and alternative material startups. Emerging companies developing disruptive technologies seek venture capital. Risky investments, but multiplied return potential if technology is successful. Return perspective. History of the last 2 decades shows that leading rare earth companies frequently delivered returns of 2 to 5 times in periods of 5 to 10 years, depending on entry timing. But volatility is high. 50% drops also happen. For long-term investor focused on global electrification and energy transition, exposure to this market makes strategic sense. You are betting on structural trends of decades: decarbonization, digitalization, automation. All depend on industrial magnets. If you believe in these trends, investing in the magnet market is betting on the future. Next time you pick up your phone, turn on your car, or flip on a light, know that you are participating in a trillion-dollar economy. You probably do not think about it, but every electronic device you touch, every electric motor you use, every wind turbine that generates your power is connected to this gigantic invisible economic system. Industrial magnets are the hidden heart of modern civilization, and you are more important in this story than you imagine. Every purchase you make of a smartphone, every time you choose an electric car, every consumption decision you make is feeding this trillion-dollar economic machine. You are voting with your money on which technology dominates, which country profits, which company survives. If billions of people like you change behavior, they change the entire market. That is why companies spend billions on marketing and product development, because they know that you, multiplied by billions, are the force that moves this economy. And if you understand how this market works, you can make smarter decisions. You can choose better investments. You can anticipate trends before they become obvious. You can position your career in explosively growing sectors. You can understand geopolitical risks that affect your financial security, because this market is not just about magnets. It is about power. Whoever controls critical materials controls the technologies of the future. Whoever controls the technologies of the future controls the global economy. And the global economy determines your quality of life, your opportunities, your future. You are connected to this, whether you like it or not. The question is, are you going to participate consciously, with knowledge and strategy? Or are you going to let others make the decisions and you just follow the flow? Every decade brings new colossal opportunities. Those who understood technology in the 90s got rich with internet. Those who understood smartphones in the 2000s profited enormously. Those who are understanding electrification and clean energy now are positioned for the next wave of wealth, and industrial magnets are the invisible foundation of that wave. This is your moment to pay attention, because when everyone realizes, it will already be too late to enter the best opportunities. So here is what you just learned. Industrial magnets are not trivial components. They are the foundation of a trillion-dollar economy that is growing rapidly. Tens of billions of dollars in direct value. Trillions in dependent sectors. Millions of jobs. Concentrated geopolitical power. Massive investment opportunities. Significant risks that can destroy billions. And disruptive innovation that can create or destroy fortunes. You saw how money flows from mines to final products, multiplying value at each stage. You understood who controls this market and why. You met the giant companies that dominate and the emerging ones that challenge. You discovered how future technologies depend completely on these invisible materials. And you learned how you can participate economically, whether as investor, professional, or conscious consumer. Now the question is, what are you going to do with this knowledge? Are you going to research more? Are you going to consider investments? Are you going to rethink your career or your studies? Or are you simply going to look at the world differently, knowing that behind every modern device there is a colossal economy you just unveiled? I want to know what impressed you most in this documentary. Was it the market size, Chinese dominance, geopolitical risks, investment opportunities? Leave a comment below telling me which part caught your attention most and why. And if this content opened your eyes to something you did not know, share with someone who needs to understand how the world really works economically. Subscribe to the channel for more documentaries about trillion-dollar markets that move the world but remain invisible to most people. In the next video, I'm going to reveal another gigantic sector that few understand but that affects your life every day. An even larger market, even more concentrated, and with even deeper implications for your financial future. You will not want to miss it. Thank you for watching. Now you understand what really moves the industries you use today. And that puts you ahead of 99% of people. Use this knowledge wisely.